In the late 30s, John Ford read a story called The Quiet Man in a book called The Green Rushes. But he saw it published, I think it was in the Saturday Evening Post, and he bought the story and loved it and always wanted to make it.
As I remember it, it was a story, I think it was called The Green Rushes. I think it was a novel. It was a short story. And I know that John Ford wanted to make the movie for a long time. And he had the screenplay written, beautiful screenplay.
When the script came, it was a little too political. John Ford wanted it to be a romance, the joy of Ireland and the joy of being Irish.
Hey, is that real? She couldn't be.
Ah, nonsense, man. It's only a mirage brought on by your terrible thirst. Come up, Napoleon.
He hadn't cast any of us, but talked to many of us about it. And so he arrived at RKO Studio, where I was making a film called Spanish Main. And he arrived at the studio in his car, but looking like John Ford always looked. And the young police officer on the gate looked at him and thought, my Lord, and he wouldn't let him in. So John Ford went home, absolutely furious. And he called the then second in command at the studio, Joseph Nolan. Ford said he was coming to see me. And he said, well, come tomorrow and we'll put a red carpet from the gate all the way to the set where she's working. And he did come to the set. And the reason he came was to have a handshake agreement with me that I would play Mary Kate in The Quiet Man when he got it all set up. And John Ford stood there and said why he had come, and I said that I would accept, and we shook hands, and it was all. So that was my contract for The Quiet Man. That was 1944.
None of that now, none of that. It's a bold, sinful man you are, Sean Thornton. And who taught you to be playing patty fingers in the holy water?
The years went by, and the film wasn't getting made. And John Wayne and I used to tease Ford and say, look, if you don't hurry up, Duke will be playing Victor McLaughlin's part, and I'll be playing the widow woman, because we will be too old to make the movie.
It's him I'm here about, Mrs. Tallan. Is it true?
Is what true?
That behind me back, he's trying to steal the white of morn right from under me nose.
And what concern of yours is this, Will Danaher?
It was presented to 20th Century Fox, Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, and RKO Studios. And every one of them, they all turned it down and said that it was a silly little Irish story and would never, ever make a penny. And so, in desperation, Duke one day said to Mr. Ford that please would Mr. Ford let him take it to Herb Yates, the head of Republic Studios. And Yates read it, and he made the same remark. He said, this is a silly little Irish story that'll never make a penny. And then he said, but. And as I've told you before, that was the magic word, but. If the same cast, the same director, the same producer, the same everything, make me a black and white Western first to make up for the money I'm going to lose on The Quiet Man, I will finance it. And so we made Rio Grande to raise the money to make The Quiet Man.
The Republic, when they started to get ready to make The Quiet Man, they came to me and said, Andrew, we'd love to have you go to Ireland, but, Wingate is Jack Ford's first assistant. And so would you mind being a second? I said, no, I'd love to go and be on The Quiet Man.
Republic Studios was a place where Ford could operate as, almost an independent producer and do the things that he wanted to do. He could really not get away with that at too many places. They just wouldn't put up with it. And the major studios said, no, you will do it this way. And usually that's the way it was done. They had directors under contract, and they pretty much towed the line. And that's not the way Ford wanted to work. And Republic was one of the places where he was almost giving his head.
I arrived in Ireland on that wonderful old airline, Pan American. When I arrived at Reykjavik, Duke was stuck there, and I had my daughter with me, and so I gave up one of our bunks, and Duke got on board and got a good sleep before he got to Ireland, which was wonderful. When we got there, of course, I went straight for Dublin so I could see my mother and my father and my brothers and everybody else in the family. And because we're a huge, big family with cousins and aunts and uncles and everything else. But we're a together family too, just like Ford was a together family. He liked his relatives and he liked his family, though he used to torture them, but he really loved them. And they put up with him.
There was a lot of family involved in this movie. I mean, he had his brother Frank there as an actor. He had his brother-in-law, Wingate, assistant director. He had Patrick, his son, and Barbara came to visit his daughter.
It was a family. You ate together, you worked together. And the principal people sat at dinner with Ford every night. And he sat at the head of the table and held court. And he ran the film set just like a man runs his family. You know, he is the boss, and ultimately it's his castle, and he decides what goes. And that's the way the film worked. That's the way it was while they were working, and that's the way it was when they weren't working.
Feeny, get your book out. Set down the name of one Sean Taunton.
On the race cart in the racing scene in the picture when the bonnets were all put up on the pole, they were Duke's kids sitting on the cart with me. It was Mike and Pat and Melinda and Antoinette.
Maureen had her brother Charles and her brother James Lilburn. And my father had me. And Barry had his brother Arthur Shields, and so on and so forth.
You must understand that Ford liked to work with people he was accustomed to, but more important, people that were accustomed to him, accustomed to how brutal he could be sometimes and the terrible things he did to actors. And we used to call that being in the barrel. And every day when we'd go on the set, we'd say to each other, I wonder who's in the barrel today. Because we knew that whoever was in the barrel was going to get picked on and insulted and yelled at all day long.
I was worried about his difficult side a little bit because as I worked with him a lot continually on The Quiet Man by his side. And he never got mad at me. And I thought, now listen, if he's not mad at me, maybe he doesn't like me.
The whole crew was on your side, and they all wanted to kill him. But the old devil, he knew, and he knew the camaraderie it created on the set, and he knew it made everybody help and help the poor person in the barrel.
He would work on people, and if it was getting the wrong effect, if it was making people more tense and getting away, he would attack somebody else to make this person relax. And you know, he was always interested in results, and he also knew that if it wasn't working, if he wasn't getting the desired result there, he would go this way to give this person a chance to relax once they knew they were out of the barrel and doing something else.
I don't know why we put up with it, but we did. And I think it's because we respected his brilliance and his directing and his knowledge of the script and the theater and movies. And if you watched him set up a camera shot, and you suddenly realized he was painting a picture. He was an artist. His work was magnificent. And to watch him and be on the set and watching him work was also a great, great thrill.
Directing for him was, I'm sure he loved it, and I think he knew that he was awfully good at it, you know, and sometimes it would surprise young actors working for him. Would do a very rehearse, do a very complicated scene, and they'd shoot it, print it. Now you'd see young actors say, "Print it? You mean we're not going to do it again?" He says, if you want a better scene, we'll have to get better actors. That was an old saying that he had.
I've been trying to get this one for 10
Father,
years.
I've got to talk to you. It's important. It's about my husband and myself.
Down by the river with Ward Bond, and that's a scene Ward and I did in one
Father,
take.
Oh. You see, Father, could I tell you in the Irish?
In that scene, Duke goes to the Protestant minister to talk about his problems, and she goes to the parish priest to talk about her problems. And in Gaelic, she says, Níor lig me mar céile steach in ma labalum.
Near lig me mar céile steach in ma labalum.
I wouldn't let my together man, which is your husband, mar céile. Céile is together, my together man, in the bed with me.
A rare, cur me fenyar ho, culla I mala cuddleta.
Géir cúr mé féinhear ho culla I mala cuddleta. Last night, I made him sleep in a sleeping bag. And the priest says, mala cuddleta. And I say, yes, a sleeping bag with buttons. And I say, unpack a. Is it a sin? And then you have the rest of the scene.
Sleeping bag, Father, with buttons. Oh.
Any scene you did with John Ford, if you stopped and said, oh, I'm sorry, I made a mistake, he would say to you, I am the only one who says cut, not you. And if you make a mistake, please go ahead in the venue of the story and make it up, but keep going until you hear me say cut. And the actors, we knew how to work with each other. And if we made a mistake or said the wrong line, or if something didn't happen like it was supposed to happen, you went on and you made it up. And that was that wonderful, it was a feeling of freedom, that the chains were taken off of you and you could do anything you wanted to do. And that way there were so many, many, many wonderful, wonderful scenes.
Hurry, now is a good time to ask him. Well, go on.
Ask him what?
About my money. He can't say that he hasn't got it with him now.
Can't you get it through your head that I didn't marry you for your fortune? I don't give a hang about the money.
But he does, and that's the whole point of it. Now will you go and ask him?
No. Why shame ourselves?
Shame? The shame's on you, not on me. Oh, on me too, if I'd married a coward.
In Europe, you don't become a movie star because you're eating an ice cream in a corner drugstore. You have to study, you have to learn your craft, you have to know your craft, and you have to be able to use your craft. Because a lot of people have lots of knowledge but don't know how to use it. I worked in the theatre from the time I was 7 years of age. I won most of the awards in Ireland. I studied at the best school in Dublin, dramatic school, and I have my degrees.
The part itself had a lot of strength in character. And you talk about Duke's part. Well, nobody could have played that part except Wayne. Also, Wayne is a very underrated, he was probably one of the biggest movie stars of all time. But in The Quiet Man, he was acting. I mean, he was a great actor. If he didn't prove it in The Quiet Man, he was never going to prove it.
Is your wife's love worth fighting for?
I don't know. All I know is that I can't fight or won't fight unless I'm mad enough to kill. And if that means losing her, I don't know. Maybe she doesn't love me enough.
The Quiet Man works because of the two actors. Because we were strong enough and tough enough to act one against the other. And never at any time did Duke do anything where the audience thought it was cruel. They just thought, wow, she's going to get even with him. What the hell is she going to do next? And it created an anticipation.
I'll wear your ring. I'll cook. And I'll wash. And I'll keep the land. But that is all. Until I've got my dowry safe about me. I'm no married woman. I'm the servant I have always been. Without anything of my own.
That's ridiculous. You're my wife and fortune. What is this?
Haven't I been trying to tell you that until you have my dowry, you haven't got any bit of me? Me, myself!
I think that Duke and Maureen O'Hara had a perfect professional relationship. They understood each other as actors. I know that they had tremendous respect for one another. They admired one another, but never in any personal romantic way.
So you're not a woman to be honked at, huh?
Why, it's beautiful. Did you ever see such a... Why, it looks like it could fly.
It's only 1 horsepower, but it's all yours.
He used to say that I was a great guy. And a lot of people say, oh, tell him not to say that. But I'm proud of it, because it meant I was one of his gang. And he wasn't being nice to me because I was a woman or female or anything. It was because he loved me as a human being. And he always said with Maureen, she looks at me. We have eye contact. She makes me act because she makes me react.
I have a fearful temper. You might as well know about it now instead of finding out about it later. We Danahers are a fighting people.
I can think of a lot of things I'd rather do to one of the Danahers. Miss Danaher.
Shh, Mr. Thornton. What will Mr. Flynn be thinking?
We shot The Quiet Man in the west of Ireland, but mostly around and near Cong.
It's a precious little kind of a town, you know. They've got an iron cross down in the middle of the street, and they've got Cohan's Pub, and that's now a memory mark from The Quiet Man.
Dad, I think you have more sense than I have myself.
The stealing of the bicycle and all of that was all shot in Ireland. And when Duke climbed over the wall and threw away his hat, that was all in Ireland. And she took the hat pin out of her hat and everything. That was all in Ireland. And up to going through the stone doorway of the graveyard. The inside the graveyard was photographed in Republic Studios.
If anybody had told me 6 months ago that today I'd be in a graveyard in Innisfree with a girl like you that I'm just about to kiss, I'd have told them...
Oh, but the kissing's a long way off yet.
Huh?
Well, we just started the courting, and next month we'd start the walking out together, and the month after that there'll be the thrashing parties, and the month after that there'll be...
Nope.
Well, maybe we won't have to wait that month.
Yep.
Or for the thrashing parties.
Nope.
Or for the walking out together.
No.
Today, everything is too explicit. You don't leave anything up to the imagination of the audience because, my hatred are the explicit love scenes you get today. But when Duke and I did a love scene, the audience thought, wow, if they get together, what's going to happen? And they dreamed up their own idea of what these two people would do together.
He's very physical with her. I mean, he grabs her and he kisses her, and the rain is coming and the wind is blowing. And all the elements that add up to something that's pretty romantic. With a couple of actors that know how to do it. That know how to play the scene.
You know, my father's wearing a silk shirt, and the way the rain hits the shirt and how it sticks to his body, I mean, all of these things were intentional. They used everything to create an illusion, to create tension, to create texture. They used their creativity rather than just, to sell it some other way. And it's what's happening behind and it's what's happening in our imagination that makes these things interesting.
You have to start with the heart. And then the heart tells you the sentiment you should have, and then your craft as a performer or as an actor or actress tells you how to do it. But you know what you want to do, but it's how to do it that's very difficult sometimes. And, well, that's the way I've always acted.
I think that John Ford captured authentic Ireland all the way. I mean, the amazing thing is when Duke was pulling and started pulling her across I remember asking Mr. Ford whether he wanted me to remove some of the sheep pilings on the... He said, no, leave them. I said, well, because Maureen's going to get dirty. I thought, well, don't just leave them. So Maureen did. Duke pulled her right through all the sheep down.
It's only 5 miles. Just a good stretch of the legs.
You look at that scene, Duke was really pulling on Maureen and pulling her, and she was falling down and getting up, and she was a great sport.
In the script, it just said that Duke dragged me across the country. And Duke and I said, well, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? So behind the bushes, Duke and I worked out all of that thing where he dragged me across the country and I lost my shoe, and then I got up and I threw a punch at him and I spun in a circle, I missed him, and then he kicked me in the rear end and everything. And Duke and I worked that all out and we rehearsed it all the time. So we did it. And Ford got up and announced to the whole company, he said, you see how wonderful it is when it's totally spontaneous. And we could have cheerfully killed him.
Danaher, you owe me 350 pounds. Let's have it.
My father knew Ford very, very, very well. So it was interesting for me to be working on a picture with John Ford directing and my father in it.
Victor was a larger-than-life character, a great foil for my dad.
I'll pay you. Never.
His personality was just awesome and came across that way on the screen.
You can take your sister back. It's your custom, not mine. No fortune, no marriage. We call it quits.
It was a great part for my father. You have to also remember that it was in the latter part of my father's career. I mean, he'd been acting since he was 34 as a movie actor, and now he's 65.
There's your dirty money. Take it. Count it, you spawn. And look, if ever I see that face of yours again, I'll push that through it.
Actually, I used to worry about him a little bit because, in actual fact, Duke was 21 years younger than my father.
Charge it!
I'll be going on home now. I'll have the supper ready for you.
I always worry about my father because I was worrying about his age as a son. But Duke was a very understanding guy.
Duke did all of his stunts, and I did all of mine. And there was only one stunt that wasn't done by the various actors, and that was in the village during the big fight when Victor McLaughlin fell backwards into the stream. The stream was very shallow, and the bottom of the stream was full of rocks. And that fall backwards, just the fall, was done by Pat Ford, John Ford's son.
You've had enough.
No.
Well, give a man a hand, then.
Yes, Inspector. Thank you, sir.
What did he say?
He said to put 5 pounds on Delaware's nose.
Maybe the fight isn't quite as vicious as you might find today or as physical, but it was certainly hard fought and long. In and out of haystacks, into bars.
a drink before you kill yourself. The drink will be on the house.
That's a good idea, Sean. The people from Ballygloon are coming over by bus. Thousands of them.
Hey, that's a good idea.
And then taking a rest in a bar.
Bartow. What time is it?
5:30, sir.
And then say, okay, it's time to go back to work and fighting again.
Woman of the house, I have brought the brother home to supper.
He is kindly welcome.
God bless all in this house.
Wipe your feet.
Thank you, ma'am.
Well, when we were shooting the very last scene, it's like Ford has done in many movies, like a goodbye from the cast to the audience. And you saw all the different people, and they either waved goodbye, or they just smiled at you, or they bowed. And Ford said to me, he wanted me to say a certain thing to John Wayne. And I said, oh, no, I couldn't say that to Duke. And I was told I had to say it, and that was that. And I said, well, on one condition. You swear with me right now that you will never, ever tell anybody what you asked me to say. And he said, all right, I'll make a deal with you, I never will. And what he wanted was the expression on John Wayne's face. When I whispered in John Wayne's ear, and he looks around at me like that, and he wanted that. And he knew that was the way to get it. And so I did it. And he got what he wanted. It's there on the film for you to look at any time, and you see what he was really doing. We waited so long to make that movie. We were contracted to make it in 44, and we didn't make it till 51. So it was a great joy for Duke and a great joy for me, and I imagine a super joy for Ford, that we finally got to make it. And so a lot of our heart is in that film, and a lot of our joy of working is in that film. And a lot of abuse from the old man is in the film, but that we gladly took, and we'd take again. If they were both alive and we went off to do another project, we'd all take it again. It was wonderful.
John Ford, in the history of movies, is probably one of the greatest directors of all time. And to say that I was with him on one of the best pictures he's ever made, The Quiet Man, is a sort of a feather in my cap. I mean, it's something that happened, and I was able to take, I hope, the best advantage of it. Got to know Duke better than I knew him already, and I knew him well by then, and certainly getting to know Maureen O'Hara, whom I will never forget because I worked with her as a director later on. And the whole experience of being amongst a whole lot of people where family was very definitely and deeply involved was an experience that I'll always remember.
The Quiet Man, I think, will always be number one, because it has to do with the country I was born in, where I came from, and all of the people that I loved, and my own family and all the other families that were involved in the making of the film.
It's fortunate that you're able to look back on these things. He's left some wonderful memories for everybody, and The Quiet Man is a pretty good example of it, I think.
It's about love, marriage, happiness, respect of one human being for another, as was found in those days in Ireland and is still found down the countryside. Ireland is still just like that. It's a wonderful country filled with wonderful people who have given wonderful gifts of themselves to the whole world.